Welcome to Chromatic Counsel podcast, the podcast where law, leadership, and color collide. I'm your host, Carrie Heaps, and I have a great show lined up for you today. And I want to welcome you back if you are rejoining us with Chromatic Counsel podcast. And if you're new to our podcast, I hope that you will click the subscribe button so you know when we go live next. And like this episode, because I know you're going to love it. So just like it in advance. But this show, this particular guest, I'm really excited about. This is someone who's been redefining what it means to practice law in the 21st century. So joining me today is Mathew Kerbis. He's better known as the subscription attorney. Mathew is the founder of Subscription Attorney LLC, an Illinois-based virtual law firm that has abandoned the traditional billable hour in favor of a subscription model that provides predictable, transparent legal services for businesses and individuals. He's also the CEO and co-founder of Practi, and hopefully I said that correctly.
Just
Um,
Practi.
Practi, thank you. It's a legal technology company helping law firms transition from hourly billing to recurring revenue while leveraging automation and artificial intelligence to build more sustainable practices. He's an award-winning legal innovator, recipient of the 2024 James I. Keene Award. He's been recognized by the American Bar Association Young Lawyers Division as one of its top 40 young lawyers on the rise. And his firm was recently named Business of the Year by his local Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Carrie. It's always strange hearing your bio read out loud, but thank you for that.
I know, and especially when you have to update it, or there's always different things that we want to add to it as we're going along. But yeah, you're right. It's a little weird hearing somebody else read out what you do and what you've
Yeah.
accomplished. So, Mathew, I would love for you to just kind of share a little bit more, for the attorneys who just aren't really familiar with your work. What led you to question the billable hour in the first place? Like, what brought that about?
Yeah, I mean, a really common thing, hosting my own podcast, Law Subscribed, where I ask other lawyers that question who have ditched the billable hour. There's a lot of through lines, Carrie, and I'll tell you, they're very similar with me. Clients weren't calling me when they had a legal problem. They were trying to see if they could solve it themselves, and then it blew up in their face. And man, I wish they would have called me before that happened. But the business model wasn't aligned for them to do that, right? And then there were personal things in my life where I was talking to my dad one day, a couple years into billing by the hour full time, because I didn't always just exclusively bill by the hour until I was about 4 years into my practice. And then I started at a firm where that's all we did. I had to bill minimum 40 hours a week, which was crazy because you have to work 50 to 60 hours to bill 40 hours. Not all time is billable. So that's like the business incentives there were screwed up. And then I was talking to my dad, and after hanging up, I was like, okay, that's point three. I'm thinking point three for talking to my father. What kind of life is this? This is no way to live. And so like business incentives were not aligned. Relationships with clients were not what they could be. And my personal relationships in my life were not what they could be. And so I just decided I had to start to find a better way.
Yeah, and I can totally relate to that. Years and years ago, before I went out on my own, I worked for two attorneys, and that was part of my job as a legal assistant was to do all of the billing. And that was like the bulk of my job because everything, like if they're driving, like they would come in on Monday, like here's all of our timesheets from the weekend, like where they worked on client stuff, and it's like point 15 here and and it really is, it sort of like consumes their life almost, and they get used to like just living their life by almost like a, I hate to use this example, but almost like you're punching in and out of a time clock,
No, you are
right?
absolutely right, Carrie. And you think like, okay, you went to law school, you got an
Hmm.
advanced degree, and now you're gonna punch in and punch out. Like when I worked at a movie theater in Starbucks, I
Yeah,
punched in and punched out, right? And
yeah.
like now I'm working as a lawyer and I'm punching in and punching out. This is no like I didn't spend 150K plus interest to go to law school, take out all these student loans so I can
Yeah.
punch in and punch out. No, thank you.
Yeah, I know. So, what are the biggest misconceptions that lawyers have about moving to a subscription model? Because I'm sure you probably have a couple of these that you hear on repeat from different lawyers.
Oh yeah, and having since founded Practi at Practi.ai, which is where probably you got like the weird pronunciation, just to call that out for folks. Like on my screen, if you've got this playing in the background and you're just listening, I have Practi.ai, which is the URL. So all lawyers grab your free account if you want to play around and dabble with subscriptions. Um, what lawyers usually don't realize is subscriptions are even an option. They think, okay, I could bill by the hour. I could do contingency, which is what a lot of personal injury lawyers do, where they don't take anything unless they win, or I could do flat fee or fixed fee. And
Mm-hmm.
there's been a growing movement around value-based billing, really over the last 20 plus years in a lot of professional services industries that bill by the hour. But even with value-based billing, it's like, well, okay, like now we have to talk about like what is the value of this to the client and what should we charge for this and your custom scoping, and that's daunting. So
Mm-hmm.
lawyers just didn't know that subscription was an option. And in most jurisdictions, for the lawyers that are watching, listening, um, it's a recurring fixed fee that goes
Mm-hmm.
month to month, quarter to quarter, or year to year, with the most common being month to month and then annually. And I've only met one lawyer that uses subscription and he charges his clients quarterly because he helps staffing agencies and they do things on a quarterly basis. And so he bills them quarterly, right? But it's
Yeah.
a flat amount and it has no relationship and nothing to do with hours. So the other big misconception is, oh, I will pre-sell 5 hours a month, 10 hours a month. No, you have to refund the hours not used. And then you lose all the benefits of subscription billing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about how many hours things take anymore. It's about getting the work done that you agree to do for the client with the scoped legal services every single month, and it doesn't roll over.
Mm-hmm.
And I could get into like more nuances and details about that if you're interested. But instead of billing your time, you protect your time. Time is still incredibly valuable, but it's nonsensical to say it's worth a few $100 an hour. It's worth millions of dollars an hour. It's not quantifiable,
Mm-hmm.
so we protect our time, but
Mm-hmm.
we still now are incentivized to use AI, technology, automations to just deliver valuable legal services that we, the lawyer, curate that experience for our clients to have a good experience, to get the valuable legal services at speed.
Mm-hmm.
And then we could do it at scale and subscribe more clients than we would have ever been able to serve on the billable hour.
And you had mentioned something too about jurisdiction, so I do want to
Yeah.
touch on that briefly. Have you found that there's certain jurisdictions that this is not like it's still really taboo or kind of like, oh, this could be an ethics violation? Or have you seen that? And the reason I bring it up is we had a gentleman on the show, Matt Hollisey, he's a great attorney, and that's how he runs his firm. It's like a subscription base.
Yeah.
And he's kind of doing it on his own. And I believe he's out in Arizona, if I'm not mistaken. So I was just curious if you encompass jurisdictions that it's like, oh, they just don't want you doing that.
Yeah, look, since having started Practi, we have a software tool that just makes it stupid simple for other lawyers to use subscriptions too. I'm
Hmm.
learning about more and more jurisdictions, and I was always learning about them when I would go and teach a workshop or a CLE or something for whatever bar association or firm in whatever jurisdiction that firm or bar association is located in. But like, it's I've yet to come across a jurisdiction where subscriptions are expressly prohibited. They're
Hmm.
usually not even mentioned because
Yeah.
again, it's not contemplated as an actual like build like option to bill this way. What we usually come into it as is there's some language about classic retainers, which a
Hmm.
classic retainer is not a retainer that they pay you up front and you bill hours against. That's a modern
Hmm.
retainer. A classic retainer is we pay you X amount a month or a year, and when we, the client, need you, you lawyer, you help us, regardless
Hmm.
of how long it takes. So that sometimes it fits into that model, but more commonly, the rules on fees for most jurisdictions these days contemplate flat fee or fixed fee billing.
Hmm.
And so the way that we help firms structure their subscription billing is it just falls under that rule of this is a recurring flat fee. And different jurisdictions require different ways of how you hold the money. Like Virginia, for example, requires that money paid at the start of the month goes into the client trust fund account, and then you could transfer it at the end of the month into your operating account. While I think it's in like the 30 plus jurisdiction range. Say, oh, if you charge a flat fee and you're not billing by the hour related
Hmm.
to that flat fee, you could put it right into your operating account. You don't even have to put it in your client trust fund account, but that doesn't mean it's earned upon receipt. You may have to refund it if the client decides they want to cancel or ask for a refund. But what's the nice thing about the subscription model is no one client breaks the bank because you're now
Hmm.
distributing your profit amongst multiple sources of revenue on a recurring basis. So even if you did have to refund, which in the 4+ years that I've had my own subscription-based law firm, Subscription Attorney LLC, I've only had to do it 3 or 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it was for situations where the clients desperately needed legal help and I didn't think I was a good fit. But here I have these subscription and flat fee pricing options that they at least know what it's going to cost. And so I could try to help them out. And if it didn't work, sorry, it's really too far outside my expertise. Here's your money back. Right.
Yeah.
So, even Texas has an ethics opinion on how you can't pre-sell hours
Mm-hmm.
on subscription. And I agree. You can't
Yeah.
pre-sell hours on subscription.
Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned Virginia because because I do CLE here in Florida, Texas. I just started my first class in Virginia and I just got approved for Washington State. But Virginia, they definitely, I will say, out of all the states, because they're always different, about what they're wanting for continuing legal ed, but Virginia's definitely been, I don't want to say challenging, but they definitely have their own, like, don't go out of this box.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
They're
yeah.
very, so I can imagine that they're probably pretty tight with that. So I want to ask you this: how does moving away from the billable hour and going to a subscription billing, uh, going from hourly billing to a subscription model for an attorney, how does it change their attorney behavior? Because for some reason, I have this image in my head where it's almost like a little kid going through sugar withdrawal. Like it's
I
really hard for them to go from that to, but does it seem pretty easy? Do you find?
Yeah, there's definitely certain kind of lawyers that as soon as they realize, oh, they don't have to bill by the hour and there's a viable business model that doesn't
Mhm,
have an under or over scoping problem, which is again flat fees, you either overscoped it or underscoped it, and the client wins or the lawyer wins. With
mhm,
subscription, you level that out, and now the risk is borne by both client and lawyer to try to just get the work done and get it
mhm,
done high quality. So like lawyers will message me on LinkedIn and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I discovered your podcast, Law Subscribed, and it
mhm,
changed my life. I didn't even realize this was an option," because they were already in the mindset of there's got to be a better way. And for
mhm.
them, it's easy, it's simple, it's a no-brainer. They just stop billing time and they start billing on subscription. Right now, I actually have a software too that helps them do that. Right, which I
Yeah.
didn't for years. Right, this is like we start incorporated this company in September with a prototype, and in January we soft launched into the market. We've got 70 firms on the platform now.
Mhm.
So like now I actually have a solution to be like, and here's a way you can do this. Previously I was like, that's great, good luck. But
Yeah.
for lawyers who were billing by the hour for decades, um, it's much harder. And also the best way to find success with subscription billing is to burn the boats. You either leave a firm and start your own practice, or you get the whole firm on board
Mhm.
to stop billing by the hour and start billing on subscription, which is hard to make that transition, but to no longer have time tracking as a metric is the surest way to find success with subscription. And to no longer offer billable hours to your clients as even an option is the surest way to find success with subscription billing. But it's hard for lawyers, like you've implied, for them to get out of that billable hour mindset. And so,
Yeah.
what I help the firms with that still want to have time as a tracking metric, the KPI, the key performance indicator, is no longer that took 10 hours, that's worth 10 hours, or that
Mhm,
cost 10 hours. It's
mhm.
okay, they're paying us whatever, $2,000 a month for these scoped, legal services. It took us 10 hours that month on that client. How do we make it take 5 hours? How
Mhm.
do we make it take 1 hour? How do we leverage AI and automations and automate it? Clients
Mhm.
willing to pay $2,000 a month for things that used to take 10 hours. They're still willing to pay $2,000 for
Yeah.
that. But it doesn't take 10 hours anymore. It takes 10 minutes for human in the loop review,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly. And I was on the site last night and I love the site that I thought was like, oh my gosh, this is really cool. And I think, it is. It's like you've got to, I can imagine the ones that are ready to do it, they want to do it. It's an easier transition.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're a daily user of AI, and I
Mm-hmm.
love AI myself. I use it all the time in my business. But how has generative AI changed the way you deliver legal services to people?
Yeah, and so I was doing it before it was cool and before generative AI was useful, right? So like I founded my firm in January of 2022, and in March is when I actually like launched the firm. But even in those early months before I launched, I was looking at what's all the automation tech and AI tech that I could use to make work go faster. Because when you don't bill by the hour, less time is more money. I just want to repeat that for the lawyers out there that they're like, that doesn't make sense to them. He's like, he's speaking gibberish. No, when you don't bill by the hour, less time is more money. Oh, and by the way, your clients are probably happier for getting work product faster.
Yeah.
Right? Unless you're in kick the can down the road litigation work, right? Then it's a different story. But I was always using automations and AI, and like one of my first subscriptions was Formula with a W at the end, which is through the Illinois Institute of Continuing Legal Education.
Mm-hmm.
For $30 a month, I get access to a database of all these automations built into these vetted legal forms from legal experts that are paid by the CLE Institute to like put these forms together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so like from the very beginning, I was using automations.
Mm-hmm.
When generative AI became useful, because I was playing around with GPT 3.0 before ChatGPT was available, it just wasn't useful.
Mm-hmm.
I was there day one when ChatGPT was available. And I started to use it. And I was like, wow, like just from 3.0 to 3.5 was an incredible leap.
Mm-hmm.
And I very quickly was like a co-counsel user, like when co-counsel was still owned by the previous company. I even forget, they were acquired by Thomson Reuters. But I felt a lot that was left to be desired.
Mm-hmm.
And I came across a tool, Paxton, which I was one of the first beta users on. And I talked about Paxton so much and how much I loved it and used it all the time in my legal practice because they had a legal-specific large language model that actually made it, useful to legal stuff.
Yeah.
And I talked about them so much they did become a sponsor of my podcast. So for those who out there who have their own podcast, if you talk about a tool you really love a lot, they might reach out to sponsor your podcast. But I just want to put that out there because they are a sponsor, right? But I really find that like purpose-built tools, Paxton for legal work because they've got a proprietary legal-specific large language model, Perplexity for search and answer on the internet because they have a proprietary search and answer on the internet large language model called Sonar 2. They're on their second model of that. And Paxton and Perplexity are multi-model wrappers, meaning they have access to all the other AI tools without you having to pay for them directly. Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT, and then some of the other, they used to have Grok, but Grok's not as good as the other ones anymore. And so I love me a good purpose-built and multi-model tool. And I find that those are the best for legal work when the default is also we give you citations without you having to ask. Really, really important. But yeah, it's completely increased the profitability of my firm because now I'm able to do work at scale and much faster.
Yeah. And I know obviously a lot of attorneys, especially the smaller firms, the solopreneurs that are out there that, there's still a fear of using AI. For whatever reason. And, what are some practical ways that you would suggest that they can get started with using AI without feeling overwhelmed?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is have a business model that supports your use of AI that speeds up your work, right? And yes, I am saying that. I would say that before I had a software company that helped them do that, okay? But that's the truth, right? Is like create a business incentive. Like I was teaching AI to a family law conference in California, and one of the lawyers came up to me and he's like, how do you have time to figure out how to use all these tools and like where to best use them? And I said, I make the time because if I could find a tool that takes a 10-hour task and makes it 10 minutes, I significantly increase my firm profitability. So my business incentives are aligned. And that has nothing to do with the fact that I'm sometimes paid to come out and teach these workshops and trainings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that will never replace the revenue I could generate as a solo practice law firm owner.
Right.
And so I just have the business incentive to learn how to use these tools because I'm not billing by the hour. So like that's seriously number one, right? And if you want to create your free account and play around with it, Practi.ai. And if you don't, whatever. But I highly recommend that you shift the incentive to leverage the tech. Then the next thing I would say is Perplexity, right? It's not legal specific. Or just earlier this year, it was like February, March of this year, I subscribed to Perplexity Enterprise, which I didn't even know existed until like February of this year. I don't know when they launched their enterprise level, but it's $400 a year per seat. I think it's like $40 a month if you want to pay per month. So you could test it out per month first. But I live in Perplexity. And what's great about Perplexity is any question that you have about anything. Hey, I'm an attorney. I've been practicing for 30 years. I don't know, where to even start with AI. I like to do things manually. You say that into Perplexity, and it will help create like a guide and instructions on like how to start to adopt AI in light
Mhm.
of your specific circumstances. It will curate and customize a package to you, lawyer, of
Mhm.
like your particular circumstance. I'm a trust and estate planning attorney. I'm a family law attorney, immigration, business attorney, whatever your practice areas are, the jurisdictions where you're licensed, and then you could also say, how should I bill for my services when I'm using AI? And
Mhm.
have it help you come up. Like Perplexity is the super AI for like the closest thing to an all-in-one AI solution. But
Mhm.
I'm a big advocate of you can't just use a power drill to remodel a bathroom. You need multiple power tools. So don't
Yeah.
rely on one. But if you have to start somewhere, Perplexity.ai. And I am not I don't have an affiliate link for anyone. Like I use this tool every day. I live in Perplexity.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about Practi. Like what obviously there's a specific problem you're solving when you
Mm-hmm.
built the platform. Maybe kind of walk us through like how I don't know, like maybe like an estate planning attorney is like, hey, I want to see what I can do here. Like what how would you walk them through using the site?
Yeah. And so what Practi doesn't do, which I think is
Mhm.
important to say first, is we're not selling AI to law firms. There's a
Mhm.
thousand legal AI products out there, right? We expect that the law firms are going to be using some of them and it will
Mhm.
save them time. And estate planning attorneys are a great example because they are already mostly billing flat fee anyway these days, right? With the
Mhm.
exception of probate, in which case, I've met some flat fee attorneys for probate. But but we are not selling AI and we are not selling service delivery. So, however
Mhm.
you deliver services to your clients, however you communicate with your clients, that you're going to keep doing that. And there's a lot of great solutions out there for that. All we
Mhm.
help with is pricing and packaging your subscription and flat fees.
Okay.
And today, we require clients to be subscribed to buy flat fees from you. And you could charge as little as $1 a month if you're more of a flat fee shop. And we have one law
Mhm.
firm on the platform who's actually only charging $1 a month, and that's their only subscription, right?
Mhm.
Just to get the clients in the door and subscribed and access to all their flat fee services. So we help you with the pricing and the packaging and presenting it with an e-commerce storefront style experience for your clients. That's a beautifully designed, easy to use and interface with e-commerce storefront experience, just like your clients buy everything else on the internet,
Mhm.
right? So we are Shopify for law firms. If
Oh,
you were to
okay.
go to shopify.com, you'll see
Yeah.
it's advertising to small businesses to
Mhm.
take their storefront and put it online. You can't go to shopify.com to buy anything. Practi.ai is like that for law firms. If you go to Practi.ai, it's targeted to law firms saying, hey, we help you get subscription revenue for your business. Shopify doesn't help with service with product delivery, right? It only helps with the payments and the billing. That's all we help with is the payments and the billing. But here's where we really shine because sure, can you inside of Clio, which we integrate with, inside of 8am and LawPay, which we're about to integrate with, um, can you like finagle subscription billing in there? Yeah, you kind of can. And I was
Mhm.
just inside of Stripe previously to do my subscription billing. But the problem with the way that these systems are built is that it's a lot of manual processes, manual invoicing, manual follow up, manual canceling and subscribing the client at the new level that they have to go in and like there's just all this manual stuff. We've
Mhm.
gotten rid of all of that. Client goes whether it's a clickable link from your website that redirects or you're on a Zoom meeting like we are now and you drop your practi.ai/law firm name in the chat. They go there, they see the package that you were just talking about for $500 a month. They click subscribe now and they check out. They could do Apple Pay, they could do Google Pay, they could do pay with bank transfer, which is kind of like ACH. They could do credit cards, debit cards, and now
Mhm.
they're subscribed. And they
Yeah.
click, I agree to the engagement terms, in a drop down, and it links to your engagement terms, which you put on Practi. And then from there, they're a client and they could sign in to their Practi payment portal. They could change their own subscriptions. They could change their credit card payment. They could change their email. They could buy more services from you. All
Mhm.
self-serve. The lawyer doesn't need to worry about it. Lawyer just gets an email. Hey, you've been paid. Go
Yeah.
deliver the services now. You've been
Yeah.
paid. Right.
And on the client side, Matthew, how has that, because obviously this really helps to improve for the attorney, but what feedback have you gotten from clients, like even your own, that like, hey, this is great. I love this. This is so much better. Because like you said earlier, in the interview, you were talking about how sometimes clients wouldn't even come to you if they had they tried to fix it themselves. Have you found that the clients are really loving it? Have you gotten feedback from them?
Yeah, and And yeah, my clients definitely contact me before there's a legal problem. And I actually leverage Calendly for that. So we're also looking at Calendly integrations in the future with Practi, where I create a new custom scheduling link for every new subscribing client in Calendly. And depending on the subscription level that they're at, they get different availability,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if they're paying only $20 a month, sorry, you're only going to get me at the end of every day. But
Yeah.
if you're paying, $500 a month or more, you're going to have my full availability available to you, right? And then you get,
Awesome. Yeah.
and one of the subscriber benefits, which is good for the client, good for my business, is we have recurring meetings booked on the calendar to always
Mm-hmm.
meet at least once a month, if not more. Like if a
Mm-hmm.
client's paying me $2,000 a month, we might have like 2 standing meetings a month,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that we're always meeting, or we have, at least for the client, it's optional. I always make sure I'm available for those standing meetings.
Mm-hmm.
So the clients love it because they've essentially prepaid for those meetings in addition to all the other benefits that they get, which you go to practi.ai/subscription attorney, you can see what my firm's doing. And this is not meant to replace your firm website. Although
Mm-hmm.
if you're you're thinking about starting a new firm, this is the only website you need. You get it for free. You get your Practi URL for free because now you could start getting money that you could then generate on a recurring basis and pay a web developer or pay a website person to like do this. So we just want to help law firms make more money. And we also, our early bird pricing, so if you're listening to this in 2026, it's only $20 a month after you subscribe your second client.
Oh,
That's
wow.
it. So
Yeah.
really affordable pricing. January 1st of 2027, that will go up to $100 a month. But we're
Mm-hmm.
still planning on keeping it to after the law firm subscribes their second client.
Mm-hmm.
But to go back to answer your question though, is like all of this I think is good for, yes, the law firm, but also the client. But you don't hear that from the clients, and here's why. It's like having a podcast. If your audio sucks, people will tell you or not listen. If your audio is amazing,
Mm-hmm.
people just listen and they
Yeah.
share it. They don't think about the fact that the audio is good. So that the client experience with payments is good and
Mm-hmm.
frictionless and seamless. There's just no complaints. They're not talking to you about it because it's just like they buy everything else online.
Right. Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Well, we are talking with Mathew Kerbis, and we are going to be right back after this brief message.
One of the greatest challenges attorneys face isn't knowing the law. It's guiding clients through tough decisions when emotions run high. Stress, fear, and uncertainty shape every conversation lawyers have, whether in the courtroom or at the office. The Bodies Don't Lie trial presence and jury intelligence system empowers attorneys to become intentional observers. By combining nonverbal communication, facial mapping, and strategic use of color, you gain deeper insight into how people truly think and respond under pressure. Understanding these cues allows you to build stronger rapport, ask more effective questions, prepare clients with confidence, and lead even the most difficult conversations. Whether you're meeting a new client, planning for deposition or trial, or negotiating in mediation, observational intelligence can be your greatest professional asset. Discover how the Bodies Don't Lie system can help you transform client outcomes. Visit our website to learn more. Now, let's get back to today's important discussion.
Welcome back. And we are talking with Mathew Kerbis with Practi. And we have been talking about AI and technology and attorney billing and so many great things. And Mathew, I would love to ask you, because you started your own firm, and lawyers aren't typically trained as entrepreneurs or even to network or do their own sales, none of that in law school. What business lessons have have had the biggest impact on your success so far?
Yeah. I mean, some of it is just getting out there and doing something and seeing what works and what doesn't. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it took me 6 months to join my local chamber of commerce after starting my own law firm. And as you mentioned in the intro, like, I won Business of the Year a few years later from that very chamber of commerce, right? Because I got super involved and I got a ton of business and helped a ton of clients who
Mm-hmm.
were chamber members, right?
Yeah.
And so like, but like I had to go to a lot of meetings. I did a lot of pitching that fell flat.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and I've tried to figure out which pitching works, which didn't. Who's a good person to meet and who's not. Who's a good
Mm-hmm.
referral partner and who's not. And some of that is just like learning how to swim. no matter how many books you read or videos you watch, you have to get in the pool and move your arms around. And I have a 5.5-year-old daughter who's learning how to swim right now, right? So like the metaphor is very immediate in my life right now in this very moment.
Yeah.
So you got to get in there. It's just like with using AI. Like you could read about AI and you could watch videos about AI. You got to use the tools. You got to start using the tools and see how it works here and how it works there. Same thing with business, right? You got to see what works and what doesn't. I do have a podcast series, and if you go to howtorunalawfirm.com, it redirects to 18 30-minute episodes I did with another solo practice attorney. Her name's Lauren Lester out of the Denver, Colorado area. And it was recorded at the end of 2024 and beginning of 2025. So the stuff about AI and technology is already out of date. But everything else we talked about, business development, pitching, branding, website, entity, like legal entities, like all that stuff is all still relevant, right? So like good luck talking about technology today because it's out of date so fast.
Yeah.
But like this is one of the reasons we did that podcast series is because like we are just sharing all of our business knowledge for the mistakes basically that we made, that hopefully you don't have to make those same mistakes. So howtorunalawfirm.com, it redirects to my lawsubscribe.com like podcast, and that's like 18 episodes there. But the other thing is we are experts in law, right? And so our sales pitch to clients are, you client, you don't do your law stuff, we do your law stuff for you. So a good piece of advice is, and it's one that was hard for me to like fully embrace, is, hey, I'm not good at some things, right? Like I should outsource that. If I'm selling, legal services to people who shouldn't be doing it themselves, maybe I shouldn't be doing some of my own business stuff myself. So finding a good business consultant or sales coach or, web developer or marketer or whatever, right? Like it's sometimes good to just outsource that stuff to the expert and not be worried and afraid to do that. And if you go to Practi.ai and start doing subscription billing, you can start getting recurring revenue that allows you to manage, okay, well, I've got however many thousands of dollars coming in. I could spend a few $100s a month on a fractional CMO, or whatever, right? And so I like genuinely, I know that was like salesy, but genuinely, I co-founded Practi to make it easier for lawyers to make money and recurring revenue so they could better predict what they are able to spend on technology and outsourced experts.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, if you were, let's say you were at your chamber event and a young attorney approached you and said, "Hey, I want to build a modern law practice today. What advice do you have for me?" What would you tell them to focus on first?
Yeah. Well, I probably also direct them to some CLEs that I've given on this exact topic, right? Because, let's be real, everything is
Right.
content, and you got to have a link to it these days, right,
hmm
Carrie? Your podcast
I
host.
know. And a CLE person,
Yeah,
so
right,
yeah.
right. But I also try to always get recordings of those for myself so I could republish them on my own
Yeah.
platforms as well. So I highly recommend you do that too. But I would say look, like Perplexity, like going back to my earlier advice about how to learn about how to use AI, I would also tell them about Perplexity and how to use it, and even just start with the free version, because it's not like they're going to be doing anything that's attorney-client privilege in there right away.
Yeah.
And so like you could come up with a whole course guide on like how to start your own law firm and just have a conversation and be honest with Perplexity and be like, hey, I want to start my own tech-forward modern law firm. Help me make a step-by-step guide on how I could do that and what I need to do, and tell it what jurisdiction you're in. Because if you tell it you're in Illinois, it will say, well, you need to, register with the Illinois Supreme Court, right? Your law firm. Like it'll give you those steps. I didn't have that when I started my own firm in early 2022. Like all the resources were 10 years old, and generative AI was not available and useful, right? And so like today, like it's kind of easier than ever to just go to, and I prefer Perplexity because you could look at all the sources that it links to, and you could go and verify those very quickly, and you could go and watch the YouTube videos. So rather than going on YouTube and searching how to start a law firm today, you go to Perplexity, and YouTube search results, like maybe even this podcast episode, will show up there as like a relevant source to answer the question. But Perplexity summarizes it for you and aggregates all those sources in a nice guide for you. But I would say Google Workspace is the best deal in anything these days. $14 a month. One of my more popular CLEs recently, Carrie, is Google Workspace for lawyers. And for $14 a month, you kind of get everything you need to like run your whole practice. My I would also say sign up for Practi.ai right away because it's free to get started, right? And start getting
Mm-hmm.
recurring revenue. And you don't have to pay for a website right away. You have a URL you could share with clients so they could pay you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would say Substack is really important. Like all my
Yeah.
podcasting is back-ended through Substack, and it's free. And
Mm-hmm.
for a one-time $50 payment, you could get a custom domain for
Mm-hmm.
Substack. So it could be like, news or media dot lawfirmname.com or
Mm-hmm.
dot whatever, whatever URL you have for your firm. So, your GoDaddies, your Cloudflares, your domain registrars, you got to go there and get a domain, for your
Mm-hmm.
business that's hopefully also available for your Secretary of State for your firm. Um, you don't need to use your name in your law firm.
Mm-hmm.
Use a trade name. It's permitted now in every jurisdiction in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so nobody's going to remember Mathew. Like I actually do have the domain to Kerbis Legal Service, which does
Yeah.
rhyme. So maybe people would remember Kerbis Legal Service, but
Yeah.
like subscription attorney,
Yeah.
I'll be anywhere in the U.S. and people are like, "You're the subscription attorney," right? So to build a brand
Mm-hmm.
and create content, you got to create content.
Yeah.
Content is everything today, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. You're right. And I'm curious too. I want to piggyback on something you've said because you've been talking about like Substack. Like I just recently got on Substack and I love it.
Mhm.
And are you finding like for attorneys, and I know this is probably going to be different for every type of attorney, but are you finding certain attorneys are gravitating to different platforms now where it used to be Facebook and Twitter and or X now and Instagram? Because I'm finding a lot of attorneys on Instagram and on Substack.
Yeah.
But are you also kind of finding for them, like, are you seeing like a trend for their potential clients, or is it all over the place?
Yeah, like it's all over the place. And here's the thing, right? It's like what I love about the subscription model, to tie it back to that, is when you get recurring revenue and your client stays subscribed,
Mm-hmm.
your need to find more clients consistently because it's feast or famine
Mm-hmm.
significantly decreases. And so you don't actually need to be everywhere. Find the place where your clients are, whether you're a lawyer or any service provider,
Mm-hmm.
and just live there. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Like I don't do any of the other platforms, right? I guess
Mm-hmm.
like Substack is kind of a platform, but I'm not like posting on Substack. I'm just using Substack as the back end for my newsletter and podcast. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
it. But I live on LinkedIn. That's where I've got over 8,000 followers, mostly lawyers. So now that was that as useful for my law firm? Kind of. I'd get some referrals, but it's
Yeah.
way more useful for my podcast and for Practi now. And I have a newsletter on LinkedIn in addition to Substack. And all my
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn newsletter is a monthly summary of my Substack. Like that's
Yeah.
like repurpose, right? Um,
Yeah.
so like I'm just on LinkedIn because that's where
Mm-hmm.
my primary audience is. But I'm using Substack not as a platform, but as a publishing backend.
Mm-hmm.
But like you gotta like lawyers are and people they're everywhere. There's people on
Mm-hmm.
Instagram. There's people on here and there. Like if you find something that's niche, like I used to be on this platform. I forget what it's called, but it was like LinkedIn for Web3. I forget Entre, like short for entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
I got some clients through that,
Yeah.
right? Because it was like a niche like networking thing. Now everything's about circle groups and Slack groups and like all these different like groups that are like private and you need to be invited. WhatsApp group chats. Like so if you can get into those,
Mm-hmm.
oh, those are gold, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you're right. And Reddit, believe it or not, I've actually gotten some attorney clients off
yeah,
of Reddit of all
yeah.
places. And yeah, so I think you're right. It's probably kind of all over the place and depending upon, but I like that because it used to be everybody would preach omnipresence, be everywhere, be everywhere. And that's so exhausting, you
It's too
know?
much.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Now, as you know, the show's called Chromatic Counsel. So I love to ask all of my guests a question about color with wardrobe. Now, obviously,
Hmm.
you do a lot of speaking, podcasting, you meet with clients, CLEs. Have you found that certain colors or even styles help you feel more confident or you're connecting better with your audience? Have you paid much attention to that? I wore blue today because I know you've got blue with your
Yeah,
background, your logo, and blue's our trust building color, so that's a
Y-
good choice.
yeah, absolutely. And it also just works with my pale complexion. To be totally transparent, Carrie. Speaking of transparent, my skin is very transparent. So it was a couple of years ago. My daughter has been in daycare. Oh my gosh, she's about to enter elementary school. I can't wait. But
Oh.
but like they have a uniform at this
Mhm.
daycare, and like it was so easy to like put her in like solid colors and put this like uniform like dress thing like jumper over it. I was
Hmm.
like, gosh, this is awesome. I need a signature style that I could have where I don't need to think about what I'm wearing every day. And so
Yeah.
I bought like 7 navy regular t-shirts,
Hmm.
7 navy collared like short sleeve polos,
Hmm.
right? I bought like sweater versions of that because I'm in the Chicago area for the winter, and then I
Yeah.
bought like these. Since becoming like tech founder, I bought these really nice Vuori navy hoodies that are lightweight that I could wear both in the summer and in the winter, and I layer it with like another sweater that goes over that too. That's like it's all navy. And so
Hmm.
I'm like totally monochromatic these days, but it is my
Yeah.
signature look and my signature brand so that I could be like the same color for everything. And it's mostly, to be totally honest, Carrie, just because blue, like navy, works with my complexion. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, that's good. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. So Practi, our coloring is like more of a very, very dark, deep blue.
Mhm.
For Law Subscribed, I always had a bit of a brighter color, a brighter blue. Like this is the shining light that you need to come to listen about the good word of subscription billing for legal services for lawyers. But
Yeah.
then for a subscription attorney, I actually picked like a more darker red because
Hmm.
I wanted to be bold and I'm changing the way law is practiced. And I want my clients to know, hey, look, this is not like your everyday traditional lawyer law firm. This is different. I'm out there. Like this is, and plus I went to Indiana University for undergrad, so I think subconsciously I was like cream and crimson. but
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's
yeah.
interesting, this color here that you have, the red, because it's almost like when I'm looking at it on the screen, it almost comes across as like a scarlet red. And what's
Mm-hmm.
interesting about that, because red is the color, like it gets people excited in a good way. So, like, hey, this is something new and exciting. So I think that was a great color choice for you. But also, too, for people who are just interested, like scarlet, which is getting a little bit more like what the color is, more, I think it's more scarlet than crimson, but
Yeah.
it could pass for either or. But scarlet is actually the color I tell people. I'm like, if you want to attract money, because I have people ask me that all the time, what color should I wear to attract money? Because everybody thinks green. And I'm like, well, actually, if you want to attract money, it's not what you're wearing. It's the colors that you have around you that you can see in eye view. But scarlet is one of the colors that you can have around you to attract money. So kudos to you for picking that. I love that.
Yeah, yeah, and to be fair, a lot of it was like, I really like the color red, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and like the way that I've lit the background here is it's like a faux light in the back because when I edited this background on Canva, I love Canva. I did like the brighter color in the middle, and it gets darker as it goes out to make it look like I'm backlit, and so that sort of does change the maybe initial like hex code color that I
Yeah.
originally picked.
Yeah.
But I do love it. But here's something too about color, and I do think about this. So that's why I was so thrilled to see this theme of like what you do and to join your podcast. Is what I discovered is when I switched over to like wearing navy for everything,
Hmm.
that actually, and I don't know if this, you tell me since you're the expert here, but I feel like having the warm tone in the back, but the cool tone on my body actually clashes a little bit. I'm not sure the red background works as well. Like I need to wear something more gray or like light gray, which is my second color choice. So if I have to pair navy with something, I pick like a medium or dark gray. That would
Hmm.
work much better with the scarlet background. I don't know.
Yeah, well, you can. I mean, obviously, you can. Gray would look really nice too. Obviously, I
Hmm.
think against that background, but I don't feel like, because again, when you look at colors on screen too, they're always going to be skewed a little bit. Like I always tell people when they go and they get a color analysis with me, I'm like, okay, here's your power colors. This is what you want to wear in court. This is good for mediation because everybody has their own variations of blues and reds. But I do tell them, even when you shop online, just know that it's always going to be a little bit different. It
Yeah.
could be a little bit darker when you get it in person. And same thing too, on screen, because even fabric holds color. The fibers in each fabric hold the color differently. So a navy blue in cashmere and a navy blue in cotton are going to vary just a little bit because the
Yeah.
fabric holds the color differently. And I think it's no different online as well. But I've also seen it, like I'll ask for like different hex codes too for colors, and sometimes like it'll come back and give me one, and I'm like, And I'll try another one that's a little bit closer to what I'm looking for. So it's a good thing to experiment with, but I actually don't think, I think it looks very nice. And like I said, I love to share about scarlet because I do get that question a lot. What colors do I need to have? You got to have them around you, but scarlet, and then the color of gold, the metal. So
Oh
is
yeah.
another one for attracting money. So anybody's listening that wants to do that, those are two good colors. But my last question here for you, Matthew. What's one belief about the legal profession that you've completely changed your mind about over the past 10 years?
It doesn't have to be expensive. Like really, like people think, oh, a lawyer, they must be rich because it's expensive to hire lawyers. Well, as I learned, like in law school, like towards the end of law school, is oh, most lawyers are in student loan debt. Number
Yeah.
one, okay, and number two is they can't afford to hire themselves, right?
Mhm.
And it's like even if you're making even a partner at a big giant law firm, which I heard this originally when I was a third year law student from a partner at Sullivan Cromwell, who was president of the ABA at the time. He said, I can't afford to hire myself. And it's not because he wasn't a millionaire, it's because he still can't afford thousands of dollars an hour because his rates
Mhm.
go up the more money he
Mhm.
makes, right? And the higher up there he is. So like there's this weird paradigm of like lawyers can't even afford themselves. And so one of
Mhm.
the reasons I started my own firm and a large part of why I started the podcast and now Practi is I want to help lawyers get out of student loan debt
Mhm.
and I want to help them serve more clients than they could have ever served before affordably for those clients.
Mhm.
So legal services do not need to be expensive. And at Practi, we're building that future, but we're doing it in a way where we could also help lawyers make more money as they reduce the cost of their legal services to their clients.
And I love that you said that. And you're right. Student loans, I have a good friend of mine who's an attorney. I think she just got hers paid off 5 years ago, I believe. And it was something like 1900 $1,900 a month, which back, I mean, again, like now that's probably average, where when she was going to school, what, 20 years ago, it was a lot, so probably most people getting out of law school now are probably in the $3,000 a month, maybe. I guess depending upon where they went to school.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
It's something people just don't think about or don't realize. And like that's why they take jobs out of law school that are just mind numbing and grueling. Even if it's not big law. It's still
Mhm.
like, oh, what am I doing with my life? I just had to take the highest paying job I could, even though I went to law school to help people.
Yeah. I had one of the she hasn't been on my show yet, but she took a job. She was working with the state, like as a state prosecution office, because apparently they will, I guess because it's part of this, they'll help pay off
Student
your
loan
student loan
forgiveness, 10
forgiveness.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she did that. She said, I'm so grateful that I did. And like she's switching gears to do something different. And you're right. I mean, I think what you're doing is amazing and wonderful. And it's been amazing having you here on the show with me. And I hope you'll come back. I hope you'll come back on the show and share more with us and where you're at with Practi in a year and just see how much it's grown, how much it's changed. Because as we both know, with technology and AI, it'll be a totally different conversation.
Oh yeah, yeah, and look like to those who are watching this who are on LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn. Search Mathew Kerbis with a subscription attorney on LinkedIn, and you'll find me. And yeah, we're going to be launching like a podcast network soon for Practi at practipod.com. It's not available. It's not like live yet, but I don't know if this gets published right away. I guess that's impetus for me to get that out there. But we're targeting August 1st for PractiPod to be launched,
Oh.
where you could then subscribe to that newsletter for free and get all the content that we're going to be publishing around how to be successful using alternative billing.
Mhm.
But yeah, otherwise, Practi.ai, if you're a lawyer watching, grab your free Practi account. At least get your free back link, to your website, right? And then
Yeah.
when I see a firm signs up, I reach out with a Calendly link. That's a free 30-minute one-on-one with me to help them build out their subscription packages on their Practi payment page. And so yeah, Practi.ai for the lawyers watching. And if you're watching this and you're not a lawyer, but you hire a lawyer or want to hire one,
Mhm.
and that law firm or lawyer can't give you transparent pricing, tell that law firm that you're talking with to use Practi so that they
Mhm.
can offer you affordable, transparent pricing. Okay.
Well, I think you also have it on the site where if it's a client or a customer that they can search for an attorney, if I'm right, or
It's there, but I'll tell you what. Like, there's just we have 70 firms on the platform. That's not going to cover every practice area and every
yeah,
jurisdiction, right? So it's like
right.
realistically, when you're going to a lawyer,
Mm-hmm.
to hire them for something and they can't tell you what it's going to cost before you hire them, tell
Mm-hmm.
them to use Practi.ai,
Mm-hmm.
and I will help them create a package that makes it so that you, client, know what you're paying that lawyer every month.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, again, Mathew, it's been a pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you so much for joining us.
And thanks for having me, Carrie.
And I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. I hope what Mathew shared resonates with you and helps you. If it does, please click on the like button. Definitely click subscribe so you know when we go and drop another episode of Chromatic Counsel. And I hope you can tune in next time. As always, I am wishing you continued success.